Good afternoon, happy Monday, and may the 4th be with you and all our Star Wars fans out there. That's right, it is Monday, May the 4th across Central Oregon, and today temperatures have been way above average for this time of the year. Average high temperatures for early May are more like 63 to 66 degrees. Today, we've been in the 70s and 80s across the high desert, and this unseasonably warm air mass doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon. It's sticking with us right over Central Oregon. So let's take a deep dive into your most reliable forecast. Look at what has been happening, the changes we've already gone through, and what's happening next. All that and more coming up in the next several minutes, starting with what it looks like right here and right now across Central Oregon, from the top of Hoodoo all the way to Pine Mountain from the Oregon Hazards Lab cameras. We see tons of sunshine, just some clouds, and there are some showers throughout the Cascades of southern Oregon, but for most of the high desert, we are dry, and we are very dry. Now, each day, as we get a little bit closer to the summer solstice, that solar angle is going to continue to get higher when you add in those stronger solar angles, as well as sitting under high pressure with abundant sunshine and these warm temperatures, and our surface fuels are drying out really quickly. And as of right now, air quality across Central Oregon is sitting in the green. We have good air quality for now. That's already had a big change. We'll talk about that here during the next minute or so. I do want to talk about why we had that change. Earlier today, we started off with air quality that was just poor, and that's because of the Trout Creek fire. You can see this flame right here. There is a perimeter just below that frame, and it's well to the southwest of Sisters, near Trout Creek Butte. Trout Creek Butte is right here to the left, and it's little over 40 acres last time I checked, but also the crews have been doing a great job containing that, and we've been getting a lot of the updates from Central OR Fire on X, or the Interagency Dispatch Center. And as of right now, that fire is 40.4 acres, so 40 acres large, and it's at 50% containment. It's the same numbers it was earlier today. So that is something we have been continuing to track, and we're not quite done with it just yet, but we are going to continue to keep an eye on this as we go forward, because anything that changes here during the next couple of days could spell bad things or not so bad things because of this fire. So far, no evacuation zones have been issued. And again, this fire is, I'm going to go ahead and click into it so I can pull up a tool, because this fire is to the southwest of Sisters, and let me move this over. There you go. So this fire is to the southwest of Sisters, and it is roughly about 4 to 5 miles southwest of Sisters. So you could really see the smoke plume, and we did have some pretty poor air quality to start the day today. But we can actually look at that, because I have this air quality loop that I like to use this time of the year, because it really helps us understand what the air quality was really like. Now, this starts off at 7 a.m. this morning on Monday, May the 4th, and it shows very unhealthy air quality in and around Sisters, as well as the western half of Jefferson County, the eastern half of Jefferson County, all of Crook County, and most of Deschutes County. Outside of Sisters, Cloverdale, maybe the Tumalo sensor was showing good air quality. And this is this is showing the hourly average from the DEQ and airnow.gov. And it really shows that here through the morning hours, we kept that smoke sticking around until we got to the midday. By the afternoon, it had cleared out. And as of right now, it is sitting in the green. So we did have some poor air quality to start things off. And as long as that fire continues, remember, it's only at 50% contained right now, but as long as it continues to burn, we are going to get some smoke from that. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pause. This is a look at some of those cameras across Central Oregon, those road cameras, even looking at the highest elevations. There's been no rain. Inside, the closest rain is over South Central Oregon in the Cascades of Southern Oregon, but even the Diamond Lake Junction camera is dry. Now let's pause. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a different camera for you so we can also take the time to get a better look with that of what's been happening with this fire. So these are some of the Oregon Hazards Lab cameras across Central Oregon, from Bend to Pine Mountain, Grizzly Mountain. Now, we did have different view of the Pine Mountain from the last one, but this is the zoomed out look. Now, if you look at the Hinkle Butte camera, it's pointed out towards the southwest, towards the Cascades, and you can see that little itty bitty plume right there. It's not impressive now. It was on Sunday when this fire was first detected, Sunday at around noon, but it's not impressive at the moment. However, it is continuing to go because you can see a little bit of that smoke coming off the top of where this fire perimeter actually is. Now, when we go ahead and look at satellite and radar, when it comes to any lightning strikes, any thunderstorms, most of that has been over south central Oregon. For central Oregon, we've had a few showers around the Cascade High Lakes between, or I should say just to the west of Lapine and Three Rivers, but we didn't get any lightning strikes from that, and that's the closest shower activity. In fact, when we look at it a little bit closer, it's mostly in the highest elevations, and it's just been getting a little wet. But when it comes to lightning strikes, 0 total in the last 24 hours. Now, when we look a little further to the south, that's where we see that active pattern. In fact, more than 150 lightning strikes in south central and southwestern Oregon, mostly really through the Cascades of southern Oregon, and going into northern California. That's some of those numbers are from northern California. In fact, we'd have to put it right here to cut it off, and that's just over 100, so 132 lightning strikes, and that's still pretty far south for most of, or all of central Oregon. In fact, Crescent, it's still the closest one, is well to the southeast of Crescent, the closest lightning strike that is. And so none of these have really impacted us here in central Oregon, but we are going to keep tracking anything for any fire development that come off of those. But for the most part, here in central Oregon, it's been dry. We haven't had any lightning strikes today. It wasn't the same the last couple of days. But here at a glance, the next 24 hours or so, we're looking at some in and out clouds. And then by tomorrow afternoon, some showers, maybe some thunderstorms through the Cascades of central Oregon. So basically the activity we've had today scoots north and impacts the Cascades of central Oregon, just not for everybody. And when it comes to satellite imagery, what I was showing you before was a blend of visible and infrared satellite imagery with radar thrown on top of it. This is just infrared satellite imagery, and it really helps pick out some of those tall clouds. Some of the clouds that are producing thunderstorm activity, they would typically show up in red. So for central Oregon, we don't have any of that. And even where there are some thunderstorms over south central Oregon, or the Cascades of southern Oregon, I should say, those ones are red. But where there were a few other lightning strikes, not nearly as bad. And we see these white lines that are really stacked up next to each other. That is what we refer to as a steep gradient when it comes to isobars. And that's where we actually have those stronger winds. Most of central Oregon, not too bad. Winds have been breezy at times. And we're firmly under the influence of a broad ridge of high pressure that's going to continue to impact us through the next couple of days. We're just catching some Pacific moisture building into the Pacific Northwest. That moisture, that warmth, coupled with a little bit of instability that's over the area, that's where we're seeing this chance of some showers with the potential of a few thunderstorms. And when it comes to water vapor imagery, there has been a dry air mass over central Oregon today, but now it looks like a slightly more moist air is starting to work its way down into the high desert. Just nothing impressive over central Oregon right now. But when it comes to that dry air mass out over the Pacific Ocean, that's going to continue to impact us through the next couple of days. It's just this weak low pressure that's off the Southern California coastline that's pulling in some of that moisture and influencing us right here in central Oregon because of that. Or I should say really influencing southern Oregon. But our forecast model doesn't show much in the way of precipitation at all. By Monday afternoon through the Cascades of central Oregon, scattered showers, maybe some thunderstorms. Again, nothing too impressive when it comes to this. This is just going to be your garden variety pulse thunderstorm activity, where the maritime influence of the other side of the Cascades, west of the Cascades, is going to play more of a role than the dry conditions we have on the high desert. Nevertheless, there is a chance of some thunderstorms developing. By Wednesday, that moves a little further to the north, and it dissipates a little bit more. So not too much at all expected through the next couple of days, but there's a very low chance of some showers with the potential for for a few thunderstorms. Now, when it comes to relative humidity, we are very dry, sitting in the teens and 20s, except for once you start to get up the east slopes of the Cascades. That's where we have some moderate relative humidity values, all measured in percentages. Now, when it comes to temperatures in the last 24 hours, we topped out in the 80s with some 70s on the map. As of right now, we're still in the 70s and 80s. It is 81 in Bend, Redmond, and Madras, 86 in Warm Springs, 71 in Sisters, 75 in Prineville, 76 in Paulina, and lower 70s for other parts. So 70 in Sun River and 72 in La Pine. This represents close to where we were yesterday when it comes to temperature-wise. We're running between 4 degrees cooler and 5 degrees warmer than it was 24 hours ago. Now, your temperature trend shows that tonight we fall back into the 40s for most. A few 50s and a couple 30s are going to be possible. By tomorrow, we're topping out well into the mid to upper 70s with some 80s. So we're still talking about 30 to 35 degree temperature swings within just 24 hours between lows and highs. That's a big change up just during the day, but it's what we expect this time of the year. And what we typically get this time of the year is not nearly as warm when it comes to those conditions across the high desert. Again, when it comes to these warmer temperatures and direct sunshine or increasing solar angle, this is only drying out those surface fuels even quicker, and there's not much of a backup through the Cascades when it comes to snow. That's going to be melting here quickly too. So it's just spelling bad conditions for fire weather. But when it comes to a different forecast model, this one shows surface temperatures, and I put a couple words on there with a couple of also some surface analysis, so you can just see where the high pressure is, where the low pressure is, and what we're expecting. So Tuesday, we're looking at more sunshine, some PM clouds, a few PM showers. Most of the shower and thunderstorm activity Tuesday PM happens in the Cascades, and highs are still going to be in the 70s and 80s. We actually get a little dip in temperatures. By Wednesday, a bump in temperatures, and we're looking at 80s with with a few 70s possible, lower chances of precipitation. In fact, by Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, starting in the midweek, we're just drying out almost completely and staying very dry as we go forward. So by Thursday, we're still looking at 80s with some 70s possible. So more ups and downs in those temperatures, a couple of weak systems impacting us. And the one that's impacting us the most is just skirting through the northern Pacific Northwest and Canada, and that's just throwing some influences our way. But between now and Thursday at 11 p.m., not much at all in the way of precipitation. We're going to dive into that a little bit more here coming up. But by Friday, we get our next dip in temperatures. That's coming on the backside of that weak system that'll be impacting us on Thursday, but it's not impacting us too much. Though we will cool down, though we're going from the 80s into the 70s, that's still well above the average high of 66 degrees. A couple spots could get back down to near average before our next warming trend. So your forecast model, this is the one I typically show on air every night. It shows not much else happening, just some in and out clouds, a few showers, and maybe some thunderstorms through tomorrow afternoon. By Wednesday, a lot more dry. By Thursday, very dry, some in and out clouds. By Friday, that pattern continues. It is not over yet, but Friday brings a more significant system. That will be a dry cold front rolling through the high desert. In and out clouds, check. Stronger winds, check. Chance of rain, not so much. In order to see that, we have to go to a more long-range forecast model. This is the GFS, the American model that really reaches out that far, and it shows that by Thursday, we're back to more sunshine. By Friday, we get that weak system rolling through. Let me rewind that. We're going to rock back and forth here for a little bit. So by Friday, the system that's going through brings the in and out clouds, maybe a sprinkle or two, then clears out by Saturday, by Sunday, by Monday. Our next warming trend really takes shape. So there is a weak system pushing through on Friday. It's going to bring some clouds, but not much more in the way of change after that. So between now and Thursday at 11 p.m., we dry, y'all. And there will be some showers, maybe a few thunderstorms in the highest elevations. After that, not much changing. This is a totally different forecast model, not nearly as high of resolution, and it is putting something different on the ground, but that's still just a chance of some showers with the potential of a few thunderstorms during the next couple of days and dry for Friday. So currently we have gusts that are between 15 and 25 miles per hour. You could actually say gusts between 20 and 25 miles per hour, mostly coming out of the north. We have those strong winds, and actual wind speeds more like 10 to 20 miles per hour, but look at this. Here is your wind speed wind trend graphic. There you go. And everything to the left of that white line, that now line, that's your observed. It's already happened. It's in the past. Everything to the right of it is your forecast. And it shows winds are going to be tapering off here tonight. By tomorrow, getting breezy again. gusty at times, but by Wednesday, we get that next shift in our weather pattern where we're just back under that ridge of high pressure. Not much at all in the way of precipitation. Unseasonably warm temperatures and just a light breeze. So for tonight, expect 40s with a few 30s and 50s out there. By Tuesday, 70s with a couple of 80s expected. Some ups and downs in temperatures through the next 72 hours, and they're mostly going to be driven by when, where, and if we get any shower or thunderstorm activity. At this point, very low chances, but anything along that line could change up what we're expecting pretty quickly. By Friday, get that weak system, get a dip in temperatures, we fall back down into the lower to mid 70s, then another warming trend, then back into the 80s across central Oregon. So our weather headlines for this Monday, May 4th. The summer tease continues. It's going to be very dry with breezy afternoons, and a few mountain storms are going to be possible. As of right now across central Oregon, we have very little in the way of cloud cover, only a couple of sprinkles in the highest elevations, and the closest thunderstorm activity is well to our south, closer to Klamath Falls, but mostly south of Chiloquin, and going into northern California. And all these are actually going a different way than we typically they go south to north. This time they're going north to south. And so what we do have that's even close to us is working its way in the other direction. That is the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest headlines and your most reliable forecasts. See you then.